Coach Kellie Harper as her team continues preparations for the upcoming SEC tournament as the number 3 seed. And they will face the winner of number 6 Arkansas and number 11 Ole Miss on Friday at approximately 8:15 p.m. We'll let Coach start out with an opening statement, and then we'll take questions. Coach?
Well, it's this time of year that everybody's excited. Doesn't matter what you did, doesn't matter what you didn't do leading up to now, because I know it's cliche that every coach says it every year, record 0-0, everybody's got a fresh start, and you get to a new challenge in front of you. So I tell you what, I fully expect this SEC tournament to be competitive. Anything can happen, and you know we're hoping to take a team over there that's ready to play and compete at a high level.
All right, we'll take our first question from Maria.
Coach, what does your preparation look like this week when you don't exactly know who your opponent will be, and you also have a very late tip again, which you had at Missouri, so you're used to it now. But what does that look like this week?
So we've actually, their day off was Monday, and then we'll actually just lift, not do a whole lot also on Tuesday, just because, you know, I think when you prepare for a tournament, you have to prepare to play for 3 games. So we're trying to prepare to play for 3 days. So we'll give them a Tuesday off. That'll help us, I think, with the rest of the week. Wednesday will look, it will be a really good practice for us, and it will be a lot of Tennessee. We'll work a lot on us. Obviously, if there are some things that we can knock out that could, you know, prepare us for Ole Miss or Arkansas, we will do that. We'll travel, and then Thursday we'll practice in Greenville. And again, because of the late tip, we will practice without knowing who we're playing. That one we'll still probably do a little bit more of us. Some of the things we need to work on. So our shoot around time, our walkthrough on Friday will be scout heavy, you know, to make sure that we're ready for whichever opponent that we play.
Ben?
Kellie, another preparation question. Just with the late tip, is that something you dislike? I know you're used to playing at night during the season, but come tournament time, just the anticipation all day, do you think your team will be able to handle that, or how will you talk to your team about handling the late tip?
They'll probably handle it better than I will be, because it's nearing my bedtime when we'll be at the game. What we'll try to do is shorten the day a little bit. You know, logistically, it'll be a little tougher because of the scheduling of when your shoot around is, but we'll try to shorten the day, let them sleep in a little bit if we can. We'll try to work towards that also on Thursday, so that we're trying to trend in that direction. You know, I think players, you know, they want to play. I don't know that it necessarily matters when you play on that Thursday and Friday. Or Friday and Saturday. What matters is when you have a late game one night and then an early game the next day, so a quicker turnaround. So if you're playing the late game on Saturday and then have a quick turnaround on Sunday, you know, makes a little bit of a difference. But, you know, it's tournament time. I think you just look forward to playing. The cool thing is if you play that late game, you get to watch a lot of basketball that day.
Gustavo?
Coach, in terms of your players being honored, Renaya Davis making the first team, Ray Burrell second team, and then have Marta, all freshmen, also had another play on the all defensive team. How do you see this accomplishment by your players, you know, showing how I think was good regular season, have players honored on the SEC honors?
Well, when you look at the list, I mean, what a talented list of all conference players, both first and second team. And I think our two definitely deserve to be on that. I think they did a terrific job this year, had the stats to back it up. But there are a lot of really good players. I'm also really proud that Tamari Key was on the all defensive team. I think very well deserving honor for her. I'm really excited for Marta, you know, to be in that freshman team. You know, unfortunately, her season doesn't look like we thought it was going to, based on her injury. But you know, I think people noticed there.
Kellyanne?
Hey, Kellie, this season and past wins, you've mentioned the team having the right focus that week and practicing the right way. Coming off of an exciting win on senior day, how do you help prepare or keep your team reeled in and have that right focus heading into this challenging SEC tournament?
Well, that's a great question. We're going to talk about taking care of business and whatever that is. Do your job, whatever that is, and whether that's on the court or off the court, you got to do your job. And I think we'll really try to get into some execution things this week, making sure that we are very clear on some of our schemes and what we need to do. We might even put some wrinkles in going into the tournament. I think sometimes when you do that, it keeps players' minds fresh. So it's not so repetitive. They get excited about new things. So we may do a little bit of that. But at this point, you just don't want to have to. As a coach, you want to walk into practice and they're ready because they see what's at stake. And if they're not, we'll have to reel them back in or, get after them a little bit to get their focus right. We cannot afford to have a bad practice this week. You have to have a great practice. So if we start trending in that direction early in practice, we'll have to slam the brakes on, maybe go to the locker room and come back. I don't know. We have to have good practices this week.
Maria?
Coach, I say this every year, but I think I really mean it this year. This is a wide open SEC. I mean, you look at the brackets and just about everybody has a chance to get to Friday. Do you expect just an absolute fight to get to that championship game?
Oh my, yes. Yes. And I don't care who you are. I don't care what seed you are. I don't care who you're playing. I don't care who you're not playing. If you're advancing, then you've really done something, because there's so much parity this year. And a lot of times it's about matchups as much as it is about seeding and talent. It's about who do you match up well, and you got to figure it out. So I think it's definitely shaping up to be an exciting tournament for sure.
Vince?
Kellie, based on your experience in tournament play, I know the SEC tournament is not the exact same thing as the NCAA tournament, but in seeing teams that have success in those settings in the postseason, what characteristics of those things that are successful do you think your team has, especially on the court, more so than maybe even between the years?
Well, I think we don't have to do this an awful lot here, especially when we have no postseason tournaments. But preseason tournaments. I apologize. I think turning scouting reports around quickly, teams that are able to do that without a lot of effort on the court, I think those teams are very well prepared to move through a tournament. Just thinking back to some of my tournament championship teams and what they were able to do, that to me stands out. Teams that can stay in the moment tend to be a little bit more successful. They're not worried about what happened the first time you played them, or they're not worried about who's playing in the next game, or they're not worried about the next day. They can really stay in the moment and be very focused on the job at hand. I think that's a great quality. I think both of those, the first is a lot of basketball IQ, but the second one's a lot of maturity and experience. And, that's when you're relying on your upperclassmen to really set the tone and how you're going to lock in.
If I could follow up real quick, how much do previous games matter? Like a lot of people say, well, if you lost to a team twice, you can't beat them. It's hard to beat them a third time. Or how much does that first meeting or two meetings prior to make a difference, if at all, in a tournament type of setting?
Well, I think it makes a difference for the coaching staff to kind of game plan and have an idea of maybe what worked the first time and what didn't work. And sometimes if it worked the first time, you have to realize that the other team's going to change. So it may not work this time. So really going in, it's it's a chess game, right? You know, you got to be 2, sometimes 3 steps ahead of your opponent. You know, in terms of the team, I would be just fine if players didn't remember anything about the first few games, you know, or first game or 2 that you played, because I think you get to the tournament and you know, it's different. Everybody's going to throw out all the stops to win, and if they didn't beat you the first time, they're going to give you something different. And I think you know, I think it matters, but at the same time, when you get to tournament play, they're going to throw everything at you.
Lewis?
Hey, Kelly. So with kind of going off what Maria asked earlier, if you guys, you know, the team you're going to be facing on Friday, it's either a team you beat by 1 point in the regular season or a top 16 team in the country. And just down the bracket, it keeps on, you're going to have to face some of the best teams in the country. In the SEC tournament in general, how does that prepare you all for the big picture of the NCAA tournament because of how just competitive the nature of the conference is right now?
Yeah, you know, it's I've thought about that quite a bit. You know, it's so tough. It's so challenging. Not only are these some of the best teams in the country, they're some of the best teams in the country, and they know you inside and out. I mean, they get it. I think I hope that the SEC tournament and the competitiveness and the talent that we have there really prepares all of the teams going to the NCAA tournament. I really hope that we're setting each other up for success. You know, carry that level of play into the NCAA tournament could really make for a great showing for the SEC. And we should. I mean, the SEC, we have so many talented teams this year, really do. And a lot of them can make some noise in the NCAA tournament, regardless of the outcome of the SEC tournament. So, you know, we'll definitely, I think it'll be good for us, you know, to be in that tournament environment and, you know, hopefully handle ourselves well and then be able to take that over to the NCAA tournament.
Ben?
Kelly, I know you and your coaching staff have been living in your own bubble here in Knoxville, but over the last couple of weeks since you played Ole Miss and Arkansas, how have you been able, if any, see that team change to when you may now play them on Friday? And is there any difficulty in preparing for maybe 2 teams at once, or is this a case where the familiarity really helps you all?
I think both. I think, you know, we've been, you know, as we're worried about ourselves, you're right. We kind of put blinders on. We're worried about what we're doing. This past week, it was all about Tennessee, Missouri, and Auburn. But we pay attention. You know, I was able to watch the Alabama-Arkansas game, or the majority of it. So we see how these teams are playing, you know, kind of trying to keep up with Ole Miss as they play. They're coming off a great win. You know, obviously, you don't have we don't have an advantage over those teams in terms of our scout. We won't prepare for both of those teams on Thursday. That's not what we'll do. So we'll wait and do our preparation on Friday, which will be the same time that our opponent will do their preparation. So in terms of the scout, but you know, there's not a lot of questions about who each team is. We will have our staff will have scouting reports prepared for both going over. You know, I'm sure our team will brush up on both of them. We'll be able to watch that game. That'll be really good for us. So I think there is a little bit of, you know, you're behind a little bit because you don't know in terms of your team. We can't do walkthrough until Friday, but we have a late game on Friday. We've got plenty of time to get that in.
Maria?
Coach, you mentioned that walkthrough and scout on Friday. Will you be able to do that at the arena with games played all day, or will you have to go elsewhere? And then a quick follow-up, what are your memories as a player of this tournament?
Yeah. So our arena shoot around is that morning. I don't know, remember 8:30, 9 o'clock-ish time, which really stretches your day out if you take that on Friday morning. We will go off-site to do our walkthrough, our scouting prep. So we'll be at a different gym for that. For me, I remember some of my vivid memories. I think 3 of the tournaments were played in Chattanooga at the Roundhouse, and how predominantly orange it was. That's a big memory for me. How much fun and competitive those tournaments were. And then I remember going down to Columbus and boy, playing great. We played terrific that year down in the SEC tournament. Had some big wins against some really good basketball teams. So fun times. But you know, it was the precursor to the NCAA tournament, which is what we're really striving for.
Lewis.
Kellie, I know we want to focus like in the moment here, but it was a year ago at this point where, you know, the SEC tournament was the last basketball you all would have for quite some time. When you think back to that time frame, finding out the NCAA tournament was going to be canceled, how do you remember that, and how do you reflect on the importance of basketball, how grateful you are for it now?
Yeah, you know, we talk about that every now and then. We'll talk about how grateful we are to get to play, because obviously we saw how quickly it could be taken away. When I think back to last year, the biggest part for me is the lack of closure that we had, not having the NCAA tournament. And you know, obviously when we played our final game, we had the anticipation that we were going to be playing more basketball. So it was just awkward, really. And then it was so fast. Everything happened so quickly. And, you know, and it really never felt like last year ended. It just felt like last year kind of blended into the summer. That's really what it felt like for me. And, you know, I'm looking forward to taking this team not only to the SEC tournament, but to the NCAA tournament and giving them a chance and seeing what we can do.
Ben?
Kellie, what are your thoughts on playing on Friday, but the team that you are playing has kind of a day head start? Are you at all concerned about maybe some rust in Ole Miss and Arkansas having that advantage of already having played a game in that arena?
You know, I've always thought that a team that played the day before has a little bit of an advantage to start the game. I've always thought that. You know, they've already played. They've got the first game jitters out, so to speak. They're brushed up. They should be ready to go. But you know, I think it is such an advantage that you want to play 4 games in 4 days? No. So I think, you know, you've got to be able to get over that. You got to be able to settle in quickly. You know, it doesn't always happen that way. You've really got to be able to settle in and feel good about what you're doing very quickly in that game.
All right. Thank you, Coach. And thank you to members of the media for joining us today.
Thank you, guys. See you in Greenville.